Now, don't tell the other podcasts, but I think that's probably the best intro of all of them. Love that jazz, those jazz drums. They're heralding the beginning of the Positive Echo podcast, which will make a whole lot more sense when I bring co-host Gary Coulton onto the screen, which I'll do now. That's
Yeah.
better, isn't it? Not so busy on the screen there.
Yeah, raise the tone now, shall we?
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for doing that. The neighbourhood's just gone up in value. Good to see you. It seems like only 8 hours or something.
It was, yes. We were having a chat to a different audience this morning.
I'm on the Good Morning Portugal show. Absolutely. I love the music over there, of course, as well. But that's great. I found that as part of the YouTube audio library. It seemed somehow appropriate to bring you in on that. That's your new walk-on music, basically.
Of course, yeah.
Do you want that when you come to Portugal? Are you going to have that as when you come into the
Sounds
room?
like a plan.
Yeah. Excellent. Episode 2 then of the Positive Echo podcast. Last time was really the establishment of the idea was, and this key question for us that we'll ponder on a fortnightly basis at this time on a Wednesday evening. What kind of echo will you leave when you're gone? If you want to find out about the origin of that, you can do that in episode 1. But yeah, what have you been thinking about in the time that we last spoke about this and that first episode, Gary?
Well, in the first episode, we kind of focused on leaving a positive feeling and positive echo, a reverberation with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me kind of thinking, well, don't you have to do something for yourself first in order to be fit enough, well enough, resilient enough to help other people? So I'd like to, sometime during the next few minutes, talk about leaving an echo for yourself.
Well, that sounds like a perfectly useful place to start to me.
Okay.
Does that fit into the realms of self-care and the idea that when you're on an airplane, when the oxygen masks drop, you need to give yourself some air first?
The old one, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody does it.
No, it's true, isn't it? Isn't that nice in a way?
Yeah, nobody thinks, well, I say nobody. There are obviously certain people who just grow everything for themselves, but that's a whole different show.
Yeah.
The idea of if you're not able to look after yourself, you will always require somebody else to look after you.
Yes.
You can't push it outwards. And if you try to, it feels fake. And both sides of the equation, the receiver and the giver, kind of doesn't feel right. So it got me thinking about, well, what is this thing? Positive intelligence, positive attitude, and how can you make it every day? And every day. So it's not something that is special that I have to work at, get a degree in. It's just something that is already in me, but I just don't exercise it enough. So it becomes a natural way of being. So that's the kind of thread that I'd love to pick apart this evening.
Yeah, for sure. And we welcome ideas from other people who
absolutely
that want to suggest things that they would like to be remembered for, things that they've seen that they will maybe have remembered other people for. I mean, literally positive echoes for me. It's been a bad week or bad couple of weeks, if you like, in terms of the loss of great American black music artists, Roy Ayers, Angie Stone, great names, people whose music I love. I mean, that's literally, isn't it, a positive echo, the great music that's left behind by people. And shout out to Roy Ayers, shout out to Angie Stone. That just makes chronological common sense, doesn't it? If you love artists who were popular in the 70s, possibly the 80s, chances are they will be coming towards the end of their lives in these next decade or two, and that's an inevitability. And we can love them and honor them if you want to do that. Musical artists, but anybody, you've got something we'll come back to as well. The Happy to Chat benches, that's a lovely link. Yeah, that's a lovely legacy that someone's leaving behind. So feel free to disrupt our conversation if you've got positive echoes of your own or others that you recognize in other people as we develop this theme. But we'll come back, Gary, yes, to the positive echo for yourself, I think was the basic idea.
Yeah, it's a particularly tough time for a lot of people at the moment. And why wouldn't we feel rather beaten down? But if you try and attack the big stuff straight off the bat, you're always going to get beaten by it. So I've always said the seminar of our own lives is the richest, least expensive, but highest impact course you can ever attend.
Yes. Yeah.
But we don't pay enough bloody attention to it. It kind of,
and it also, but it never bloody stops, does it?
No.
Whether you are paying attention to it or not. Class is in session, is it not?
Yeah, it's always there. So part of the process of being able to leave a positive echo, whether it's inside yourself or somebody else, is practice paying more attention without judgment. Because as soon as you put judgment on it, it colors whatever it is you're experiencing. And usually the judgment is a bad judgment. So if you're looking at your own self, paying yourself attention, and you smear on that sheen of bad intent, everything is going to be horrible. And once it's like that, it's not useful to you because it comes with this nasty smell all the time.
Yes.
I use a lot of physical metaphors because it makes it more real. You know, I talk about tasting things and disgust about something. But also things can taste beautiful. They can smell beautiful. So the seminar of our life, here's an example, a true example from when I was a coach, okay? Executive coach. And I'm working with this guy, we'll call him Dave, yeah? Save his blushes. And Dave ran a company of about 200-300 members of staff. Huge IT company, really, IT services company.
That's quite a responsibility, isn't it? Being in that position, my goodness, overseeing all of that, yeah.
So you're being judged. He put it to me like this: I wake up every day with the boot of my board on one side of the back of my neck, the boot of the shareholders on the other side, and a boot of the people that work for me on the front, and a boot of my clients on the front on the other side. And they're beginning to meet in the middle.
What? And this was the scenario, the context of your coaching sessions, and there no pressure there, no pressure there then, Gary?
That was within 5 minutes of the first session.
Good God, right. Okay.
And I said, well, you know, only you can do something about that. So back to the seminar. He was so focused on the outcomes of the business. So he was focused on how much profit, how much revenue, the costs. He'd lost sight of the day-to-day. And I said to him, probably after 10 minutes, this is your responsibility. And he went, I'm to blame, aren't I?
Oh.
And I said, I didn't say blame. I just said responsible. Tell me about the thing that worries you most. And the thing that worried him most was the turnover of his staff, his workforce, and the amount that was costing him. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was hundreds of thousands of pounds a year spent on things like adverts, lost productivity, because there was a 25% turnover of staff at every level of the business every year. And I went, there's a story here, isn't there? So I started, with his permission, interviewing people all over the company. And I just said, I told him what I was going to ask. And I told them that their reply would be anonymized to the point where he couldn't tell who it was from.
Excellent.
One person said you can tell him to his face.
Yeah.
And that was his PA.
She knows where the bodies are buried, or he knows where the bodies are
buried. I'm married to an ex-PA, so, you know,
yes.
I have insider dealing on this.
Yes.
So anyway, she said to me, he just explodes at me for no particular reason. And I asked her what it did to her.
Wow.
And she froze. And she didn't just freeze while he was yelling at her. She'd freeze for hours afterwards.
Right.
Gradually tailing off. And this had been going on for about a year, something like that. And I said, you're about to leave, aren't you? And she said, yes, and I'm taking everything I know with me. So I had a little chat with Dave.
Yes, yes. You might want to sit down, Dave, because
yeah.
I've got the first bit of feedback from the experiment.
So I gave him some of these things, and he just exploded at me. And I thought he was going to hit me.
Really?
Yeah, and he was paying me good money at the time. And I said, I don't care. I'm walking.
Yeah.
I'm not emotionally engaged in your bullshit.
Drama, yeah. Yes.
Your drama. I don't need your money, and I don't need this hassle. What?
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, we did some work together, and I wanted to explain to him what it felt like to be let down. So I'd arranged with the local coffee shop, one of the chains near him, with the manager and his senior barista's assistants, that we would have a break in our next session, coaching session, and we'd go and have a coffee. And I made sure that the barista gave him the wrong coffee.
Oh, wow.
And did it twice. And you can imagine his response. He just
in a row. So the first coffee got sent back because it wasn't right. And then, okay, we'll fix that for you. And then the next coffee wasn't right either.
Yeah. And he just blew up. And one of the things that I'd been trained in was kind of toddler negotiation. And one of the ways that you do that is you make a loud noise in front of them. And they go. So I just clapped immediately in front of his face and said, what's happening to you right now?
Wow. So he could get transcendent, he could come out of his being in his drama and see his drama.
Yes. So now he was an observer of his own drama, is an observer of his own emotions. And I broke the fourth wall with the manager and the barista and said to the barista, how do you feel?
Bloody hell.
And she said, I want to throw the coffee over him.
Right. Did you open it up to the floor? Other customers. What about you over there, madam?
It was packed.
Oh, crikey.
The place was packed.
Yes.
And I said, imagine this is your PA, and these are all of your members of staff who are observing your behavior. Two things. You've frightened the hell out of them. They're all freezing to some degree.
Yes.
And second, they're about to apply for another job.
Yes.
And they're going to take all their knowledge with them. And that's why your business is failing.
Good heavens. Right.
So that was a semi-comical rendition.
Well, fair play to you. What an amazing coaching intervention to create. How did that come to you as a thing to do?
Don't know. I just knew I had to break the cycle. Right. And talking about it in his office was not going to do it.
Yeah, you had to sort of make it alive, bring it off the page,
and
illustrate
drama.
It. Yeah, and hold a mirror up.
What happened? We worked for about 6 months. Oh, and I should say, his marriage was failing, and he'd just become type 2 diabetic.
So that's 2 more boots to fit in as well on around his neck. That in that description.
So we did some work together, and that it's a long story about exactly what we did. But we did some work together, and then I said, "Would you like to take a break?" And he said, "Yeah, I need, I'll take a break. Come back in a year's time." So that's me throwing a year's cash away. I said, "Okay." When we met, he was a completely different character, and he said, "I'm no longer getting divorced, and I'm no longer characterized as type 2 diabetic because I've changed my entire lifestyle." And I said, "Is that because you're now paying attention and not laying blame on people?" even yourself? And he said, absolutely.
Blimey.
Tell me about the finances then. He said, well, for the first year I've been able to invest in the company from our income, our revenue. I was having to borrow money to invest in the company.
Gosh.
Why is that? I said. It's because the staff turnover is down to 5%. People seem to want to stay. How do you feel about it? I feel like I found myself again.
Wow.
So this idea of paying attention to the small stuff, and that's what the positive echo is about. It's about not the grandstanding. It's not having your name on a building. It's not even being a great artist. It's being the person that will sit somebody you've never met before and have a chat with. And listen.
Yes. And in that illustration and where we began, doing something for yourself, you could kind of to remember yourself by.
So I wrote a post on Substack about noticing your triggers. And it's the little things that are most helpful. So I try and think of an example.
Well, I wonder, but whilst you're doing that, and I'm sure it'll come to you, I hope you put in an invoice for those 12 months that you didn't actually deliver, but obviously were very good value for the gentleman in question there.
So all I asked of him was for a referral.
Yeah, fair play. But
to a higher paying client, by the way.
But I mean, I in all seriousness, that is an incredible piece of work, isn't it? That you pulled off there, and a life-changing result.
I am proud of it.
Yeah,
I'm actually most proud about the fact that it saved his marriage and his health.
Yes, the bystanders, I suppose. Right, yeah.
Once we stopped working together, I paid no attention to him or his business.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do anything else.
Yes.
And that's the thing in coaching. The work is done by the client in the spaces between the sessions.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like great music. It's the gaps between the notes that's the magic.
Yeah. Well, that's superb and a life-changing, well, not moment, but a life-changing scenario there. Incredible. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just wanted to acknowledge how incredible that story.
Well, thank you. As I've got older, I've got better at accepting people's good wishes, let's say. It was never easy. And that may be another podcast in the future.
Yes. Triggers you were talking about. Yeah.
So emotions are incredibly useful. And if they weren't, nature would have by now got rid of them. We'd be automata. Right. So our anger, our fear, our enjoyment, exhilaration, the whole panoply is useful.
Okay, now you're not using the word trigger in the current political ideological sense. You're talking about anything that shifts your state.
A stimulus, let's say.
Right. Okay.
Call it a stimulus.
Yeah. Okay.
And a stimulus can be a mental stimulus or it can be a physical stimulus. But something. So. I really hate washing up dirty pots.
Yeah, there you go. There's one. And
I will prevaricate over it, knowing that it's my turn. It's the right thing to do. And I'm pretty good. Once I get going, I'm very, what's the word? I'm careful. The pots are clean, they're rinsed, they're put away. It's that doing it. And so I get angry at myself over blocking something as simple as that. So what I've done over the past, and I don't want to come across like I'm some kind of saint. I am not by any means.
No.
But I realized that not acknowledging my dislike just made it more likely that I'd be angry about it next time. So as I'm doing the pots, I go, okay, what does it feel like when I'm angry? That's fascinating. I've got this kind of tight feeling in my solar plexus, and I get an adrenaline rush. It's not massive, but I can feel it. And it's not a pleasant adrenaline rush. It's not an excitement, a thrill. It's a angry kind of thing, frustration. Okay, so now I know what that feels like, and that's a trigger to me. When I feel that sensation, that thing is a frustration. But how intense is it? Is it a 1 or is it a 10? Well, it's probably only a 1. Well, I can deal with a 1. Come on, get on with it. And that helps me using a very simple thing that is in of itself fairly meaningless. It's very private feeling, well, it was. But it gets me ready for when I feel the same quality of sensation of anger, frustration, but now it's an 8. It's only the intensity that's different, and I can work with the same quality. I am frustrated. Okay, what's making me frustrated? It was that thing. Oh, now I understand why I'm frustrated. I can make a plan. And it's the difference between reacting to a stimulus in an uncontrolled way and responding to it after you've been able to take a breath. The old adage of take a breath. It's true.
Yes.
Not just socially, it's true physiologically. You take a deep breath, changes the way your body's reacting. And you go from dumb courage reaction, I don't want to do the washing up, to do the washing up, I'll have clean plates for the next meal. Oh, that makes sense. So that's the seminar of life. And the more you do it, the more the bigger the grin on your face when you go, oh, yeah, I know what's coming next. And you can accept it. You can lose your temper. That's fine. But at least you now know why you've lost your temper. It happens less often. You don't lose it as much in intensity. Equally, things like trust. My brother, God love him, is one of the most trusting men.
I do like the parentheses there. God love him. I guess it's the sort of thing one says about a sibling. But carry on.
I love my brother deeply. He's an amazing guy. But he will admit is this tendency to trust people he meets. And not all of them live up to expectations. So I have this thing where I've learned about smart trust, which is everybody gets it. They get an equal amount at the beginning. But I do take note of things when people aren't as honest with me, reliable. And eventually I'll go, you've made your own bed, lie on it. So this idea of your seminar, it doesn't require lots of constant attention. But you can pick a thing and go, today I'm going to notice how much I listen to people as opposed to talk at people, and vice versa. And the more you do it, the less clunky it feels. And I'm just wondering if, Carl, you're having some internet issues.
I'm not sure what's happening here. I think you're coming through loud and clear. Yeah. You to me are a little bit frozen and stuttery as well. But with the audio is good, which is the main thing.
Okay. So that's, without over-egging it, that's the idea of the seminar of your life and paying attention to it, without judgment and without intensity every second, because you'll just exhaust yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We're getting feedback, not in a good way, from Lee. It's all fine on Facebook. Thank you.
Bob.
Bob's also joined us listening now. We'll need to listen to the beginning afterwards. I love the positive echo title. And going back to Roy Ayres, he left a million memories of summer days and smoky venues I saw every year for 2 decades at Ronnie Scott's. He'll still be making memories with his music well beyond his death. Everybody loves the sunshine. Absolutely. That's the track he's probably best known for.
Yeah.
Very interesting about triggering. And I think probably we're talking about the same mechanism that you applied to the CEO. and what to oneself. It's
Yeah.
transcendent, isn't it? It's doing your
It is.
own hand clap. Okay, I'm feeling myself going here. I'm not going to stop the process. I'm not going to judge the process. I'm going to watch myself unfold
Yeah.
into this scenario.
You just notice. And
Yes.
you might also find that there are other aspects of your life that you can practice doing it that they're inherently non-judgmental. Well, relatively so. At least your relationships aren't going to fall apart if you try doing it too soon with those.
Yes.
So, as briefly as I can, I'm a marathon kayaker. That's my sport. And it's a very, very technical, physical thing. The only equivalent I can think of is the darts player who's trying to get double top every time.
Yes.
You become obsessed. So we become obsessed with the physicality of creating a powerful, perfectly timed, symmetrical stroke, and do that for 10,000 strokes at a time. Yeah.
Right.
Some of these guys, not me, hasten to add, will non-stop paddle 125 miles overnight.
Good God.
Yeah. And at speed.
Yeah.
It's not dawdling. So you have to be able to know where every part of your anatomy is at any moment to make the mechanics of the physics of applying force to the water and to the boat as efficient as possible. And you can play with games that allow you to go, okay, I know that the boat won't move unless my paddle blade is buried in the water maximally and through my body is connected to the footrest at the front of the boat. Newton's third law of physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So somehow I've got to connect in my body the link from the paddle to the footrest. While I'm doing that, I can't think of anything else, by the way. So it's fabulous meditation.
Yes.
But I've had people in my Zen paddling coaching sessions go, I can use this at work, can't I? And I go, I don't know, can you? And all it is practicing on something, this idea of noticing more. If I do this, what's the result? Is it a convenient result or is it inconvenient? Well, if it's inconvenient, I won't do that again. But if it's convenient, maybe I should keep doing this.
Yes.
And maybe then next time I'll add that. And here's the result. It gets more and so on. So you can do those things either in the gym or just when you're walking. When you're taking a photograph, it doesn't matter if the photograph's not perfect. Yeah.
We have got a great question here. Before we address that,
yeah,
I want to say there's a fantastic theme developing for me here about you were talking this morning on the show about being a scientist.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like you do, what about me? I was thinking, what about me? What am I? And what is the counterpoint or the dynamic going on in the podcast? Because we've done this completely on trust, haven't we? And well, seems like a good idea. Let's give it a go. And it's kind of what would have been the way to do a podcast previously, typically, if you like, would be to give it a name, give it a form, say what it is, have some rules, and deliver on those things every week or however it's going to be done. We haven't really done that, have we? We've had a very informal, dynamic, and fluid process. To get to where we are now. And I was thinking today, and whenever you send me a message about, what should we talk about, what should we do, how about this, how about that, and we're toing and froing on WhatsApp, I've been moved to respond and then think, hold on a minute, now all in good time. This flow is great, how it's working out with Gary and what we're doing here, and I left that hanging there. This idea that you're the scientist. Clearly, you're demonstrably a scientist, in your own terms, and how you would be judged, if you like, or measured in life. This is your role in society, isn't it? And I was thinking, what's my kind of contribution or point of view in relation to you being a scientist? And I was thinking, am I the shaman that you mentioned this morning, or a mystic? Mystic seems, and I say mystic, not mistake, although there's a very thin line, I think, between the two. And I think it's that, isn't it? Because whenever we're having a conversation, you have your scientifically minded approach and theory, the scientific theory that you spoke at some length about this morning, and the assessment, the validation, and that ongoing process. And I think I'm, like, in relation to the things we talk about, sort of mystical about it. I am very much not a scientist. I don't set things up in order to have a hypothesis, and it's almost opposite in a way. It's like, well, I'll allow the incoming data to come towards me, and then attempt to make some sort of sense of it. And what's so interesting to me, Gary, is we invariably end up in the same place in our appreciation of things.
We do.
Yeah.
So the thing that I immediately, when we first had our hello, how are you chat before the podcast, I recognized there was a fellow traveler, and you are just as curious about the world as I am. I happen to have had a training in science. I mean, when you do your PhD and they hand it to you, it's a union card. That's all.
Yes.
It just says you have been trained and you have shown some kind of aptitude to becoming a scientist. Okay, here's the next set of rules. And then there's the next set of rules. So part of my scientist persona is simply 30 odd years of being trained mentally as a scientist.
Yeah.
I'm still actually the little kid who used to, I think I was told my first project, I was 4 or 5 years old. So I've always liked the idea of learning things and then putting structure and meaning around them.
Yeah.
The way I see you, Carl, is you keep asking me really inconvenient open questions.
Yes.
And I try my best to go haul out of my memory. Usually a story. I love telling stories that exemplifies what I think it might mean.
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing.
I might have been doing that since I was 5 as well, Gary.
Yeah.
I think that my mother might say, yes, he did that since you did your first project when you were 5, and Carl has been asking those open-ended and awkward questions since he was 5. Yeah. And incidentally, I've resisted, I think, in the way that you've done an initiation, a scientific initiation. I've resisted training, being put into a method. That's been for whatever reason, has been my ongoing resistance, is to formats and procedures for understanding. It's like, it's been really messy, and yet you and I seem to have this shared curiosity, but with a very different methodology.
And in that way, I hope it doesn't become a scientific view of what it is to leave a positive echo only.
Right.
I said to you very early on, not on screen, but very early on, you are as important in the things that you feel and think are as important in the partnership as anything I can bring.
Well, you've been very kind in that invitation, and and I'll step into that on that basis, because I was struggling to understand what that might look like. But it is. I think it is our shared curiosity with two different methodologies. If my approach could even be called a methodology, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
And my training, I think it's a part of a reward system. The training in the process of being a scientist gave me answers, and I said this, I think it was this morning, I'm losing touch a bit now. I've been so lucky, and I'm not unique by any means, in discovering things, small things. I mean, not life-changing things, but small things. But in the moment, I knew I was the first ever to see that or grasp that thing because of the data. So you get this constant reward. It's like a drug. It's a dopamine hit. And I'm neurodivergent. So now I understand why that obsession with understanding nature's stories and the process of being a scientist gave me dopamine hit after dopamine. So why would I want to change?
Yeah, right.
It's only when the other aspects of being in higher education, the politics, for example,
Yes.
it's only when that outweighed the dopamine hits from the science and the people that I decided to leave.
Yeah, can understand that.
So that was an objective decision based on my life seminar.
Yes, indeed. The life seminar is excellent. It's the best. Well, as you say, it's a great value workshop that we're all embarked on. Nobody gets to choose whether they're in it or not, but they can choose the level at which they subscribe and get a sense of the benefit. Right, this question then. Thank you, Bob, for this. This is great because this, I think, relates to the triggering and looking at oneself. How does one differentiate between an observation and a judgment? So, being non-judgmental, what would be the difference then, Gary, in observation and judgment? I think within the realms of observing oneself in the triggering.
Okay, so it's a brilliant question, and partly it's loaded with semantics about definitions and so on. So let's separate the word judgment from assessment. So a scientist, for example, never judges the outcome of a experiment in personal terms. You run an experiment which you hope will test a question, a hypothesis. You get results and you go, okay, I'll run a statistic test, and if the data passes that test, then the hypothesis was true. If it doesn't, the hypothesis is false. I don't care. The problem when we start getting into personal relationships, we assign good or bad to the outcome. So I meet somebody, we don't quite gel, it must be their fault. Yeah.
Yes.
Or alternatively, it must be my fault.
Yeah.
Well, that's a judgment, a personal judgment.
Yes.
What I'm saying is step away as much as possible from personal judgment when you're presented with new things.
Yes.
So an observation would be, I've noticed that the person I'm having dinner with picks their nose and eats it.
Yes.
At the dinner table. That is against one of my cultural norms, and I don't think I'm going to be able to put up with that. But does that make them a bad person, an evil person? They're just a person I don't want to be in the room with. Fine. Leave.
Yes.
So that's the difference between judging them as a person, because that might be the only bad habit they have. Bad as it is.
A deal breaker nonetheless.
It may be a deal breaker nonetheless.
In some situations, yes.
But they may be like, you know, Mahatma Gandhi in every other aspect of their life.
Oh, that'll be a moral maze, wouldn't it?
But you don't know because you've got no data.
Yes, yes, indeed.
You haven't gone that far.
You can stick it out and yes, and go against your cultural norm and find out.
It could be, you know, anything that you could decide is a deal breaker. That's fine, but it doesn't make either you or the other person bad or good. It just is.
Yes.
So for me, that's the difference between observing ourselves in the way we go through life and judging us based on the results. It makes no sense to me. It's utter, when it's self judgment, it is utterly defeating. You cannot escape because it's in your head all the time.
If I may add, from what I would say from a mystical point of view, then, if we're going to go with those roles, I think observation is what we are, and judgment is what we are not, in a way, and I'll expand on that. So observation, and you make a really good point about semantics, and this is where so many things kind of hit a wall or come to blows is in the semantics. But for me, if I can kind of nuance or contextualize it or whatever, just to give it a sort of a mystical point of view, observation would be, like you say, noticing what's going on without judgment. And we are I think the most refined or best part of us, if you like, in a non-judgmental way. I don't mean the best part of us as in that's how you should be, or it's better, but in terms of our most elevated, refined, and free, if you like, or divine state, we are noticing. We are pure observation, what you might call consciousness. And judgment is all the partial views. Or it's like when consciousness breaks down, and I choose the term purposefully because that breaking things down means to break them into smaller parts, but also suggests a decay of some sort. When consciousness breaks down into smaller parts, partiality, partisanness, ideology, refractions of the greatest expression of who we are, that's when we go into the world of judgment. And what's interesting with that, I think, in terms of what you were saying, is we know what that feels like as well, don't we? We know what it's like to take a breath and observe from the examples you've given earlier on, to take a breath for ourselves, or to clap the toddler back into a larger awareness. It feels different to being stuck in judgment, doesn't it? And all, there are shades of judgment, because there's righteous judgment, which can actually feel quite nice, if not sustainable, and then judgment, which self-judgment and dark judgments and negative judgments about people, which don't often feel nice, apart from the sense of righteousness you might get from them.
I think we're running in parallel lines. It's only the language that's different.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? I love it. Absolutely love it.
I think the place where we meet, and it's the judgment, which is the thing that gets me riled, put it this way. Who am I to judge?
Yes.
If I'm not deemed okay to judge somebody else, why would I be deemed okay to judge myself?
Yeah, absolutely. And vice versa.
And I started thinking about, well, where does judgment come from? And it's fear. It's fear of not fitting in.
Yeah.
So if we're judging somebody else, we're basically saying, you don't fit in with my tribe.
Yes.
Go away.
And the cultural norms you mentioned before, yeah.
And if I judge myself adversely, I'm telling myself, you don't have the right to fit in with the tribe.
Yes.
So be ashamed.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Blame, shame, and guilt, and all of that comes in.
So if you go, okay, I'm conditioned to judge. I probably wasn't born judgmental. I've been programmed to judge.
Yes.
So I can deprogram myself to judge at the personal level. I'm still allowed to assess. I'm still allowed to measure, compare. But it's when I put that personal judgment on top of all that, do I really need to make a decision in life? No. And as you know, Carl, and I'm very happy to share, my inner battles as a younger person were horrendous. And my internal judge, because I had no idea why it was happening, this voice inside my head pushed me towards suicide. And it's only because I started being interested in what led up to his comments that I realized, hang on a minute, is that part of me, or have I learned this?
Yeah.
And as you all know, I am now the happiest at 68 than I've ever been in my life.
What a lovely thing to be able to say. Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, I get angry still, but I recognize it and I allow it to happen.
Yes.
I become thrilled. The idea of doing this podcast thrills me to the ceiling. And I don't suppress either, but I pay attention to it and decide how I want to react.
Yeah.
So I can be angry, but I don't have to hit anybody. because it helps nobody.
Well done. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I don't
And
even have to hit
interestingly,
the wall.
what comes to mind for me when you were talking about that, you know, your inner demons, inner battles
Mhm.
earlier on in life, is that you internalized or focused your judgment inward, or accepted the judgments that came up as self-criticism. And I'm aware that my judgment, my harshest judgments have tended to be outward. So
Mhm.
within this sort of mystical archetype, it's the world that's wrong. So it became available to me at quite an early age that I could judge my parents, I could judge the world, I could judge school, I could judge other
Yeah.
people, and I found a great kind of messiah-like sort of complex comfort in that. You know, so you know, and it didn't make me. It didn't make me happy. It was probably the same type of misery that we might commiserate about with each other. I don't think it was at the same level that you're talking
Mm.
about, but certainly it wasn't a happy place to be. But it's very interesting how one man can turn that inward and make
Mhm.
his life a
Yeah.
misery, and another can turn it outward and think, "What a terrible place this is in which I find myself."
I think it's partly genetic,
Yes.
and we end up with different neurological types that are predisposed to certain kinds of behaviors and understanding of how the world inside and outside works.
Yes.
And it also depends on the environment you were brought up in early on. And mine was a fairly emotionally neutral, very loving, um, deeply curious. My family weren't intellectuals. I was the first one to go to university.
Mm,
But the subjects that were discussed were everything and anything. And everyone read hugely.
mhm.
But my father used to go into deep depression periods.
Right.
For a month at a time, he wouldn't talk to people,
Wow.
except, the minimal requirement, because he was beating the crap out of himself.
Wow.
He never valued himself at all, but he helped everybody else.
Incredible.
So it can be very self-destructive
Yes.
to throw out all of your echoes and not look after yourself.
Wow. And then conversely, I came from quite an emotionally expressed family, as in, you know, anger
Mhm.
and resentment externalized. Not and again, it's like it gives you the same result, doesn't it, of misery and unhappiness?
Yeah.
But it's quite a different dynamic to say it's everyone else's fault, everyone else is stupid, and that remains quite an outward and extroverted form of unhappiness compared to the introverted depression, doesn't it?
I mean, if you've have kids and you remember them as at their first schools, not babies, but 3, 4, 5 maybe,
Yeah,
and they're in the playground, you'll see the extroverts
yeah,
who sometimes pick fights, but they're always out there doing stuff. It's always about outside.
yeah,
And then you'll see the kids on their own or in pairs, very, very quiet.
yes,
So you
yeah.
can pick a neurodivergent kid watching them in the playground.
See it right there. Right, we've got we are into probably our last sort of 10 minutes or so.
Sure.
We have
Yeah.
a positive echo to share, which will be probably quite a nice climax to the
Mm.
podcast. But we have great comments as well. So thank you, Mel, for being here. The phrase I love when observing is, "That's interesting." Yes, it involves no right, wrong judgment, and in its way, scientific. Right? That would
Good.
be a scientific response, wouldn't it? Hmm.
Hmm.
A little rub of the chin just gives a chance to acknowledge, note the action, feeling. Pencil, write it down, take the temperature, whatever it is, for your conclusion there. That's interesting.
Mm.
Or quite, I'm getting Sherlock Holmes vibes
Yeah.
as well with that. Interesting, Watson.
Yes. And then he goes, "Let the game begin."
Yes, yes, yes. How did the Inca handle not having a Raphael in their culture? How do we know that they didn't, or a
We don't.
Mozart? Yeah,
Well,
weren't there
you
any temper
know,
tantrums thrown in the Inca culture?
uh, we have no data.
Yeah. We have our judgments, however. don't we? We have our set of sort of stereotypical stories or views about ancient cultures, which might reflect what we want them, how we want to feel about those cultures. But that's an interesting question, Mistress. I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at, but keep coming with that.
I think it might. I might be wrong, but it's, do we require people like Raphael or Mozart in our cultures in order to develop a culture, a sophisticated culture? We don't have any information about early South American individuals to be able to say that, because there's nothing recorded.
Yeah, and Apocalypto is not a very fair way of assessing it, is it?
There's actually a brilliant book by Professor Alice Roberts I'm reading at the moment, which is about the species that we have domesticated. And the chapter on maize actually tells us a lot.
Oh, okay, all right, yes, and how we shifted according to
where
growing.
it came from, who developed it,
yes,
how early it was.
Yeah, Bob's loving your comment there, Mel. Absolutely. This is interesting from Peter. I was trying to teach melancholy to the students yesterday. Now that sounds amazing, just that first part of the sentence. I mean, is this somebody like at university? You know, what are you majoring in? Well, melancholy, but our tutor yesterday, Pete, I was trying to teach melancholy to the students yesterday and explain that there can be some enjoyment to misery.
Yeah.
Which part of who is this? Is it a sort of Oscar Wilde type? Oh, it's what a pretty pass, or what a terrible place to be. But I actually quite like it. I love the embodiment. Oh, here we go. I love the embodiment of it in Marvin, the paranoid android. I suppose it's whatever floats your boat, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, as I said earlier, melancholy is a valid mental state, because usually it allows you to investigate the things that are not working quite well without it being a major issue. Yeah, I can go into a melancholic mood. Okay, it's a reflective mood.
Yes,
it's a inactive kind of emotional state. It's very valuable.
And we talked around this sort of area in the first episode, didn't we? About the in the English language, you know, the idioms of somebody being bad with their nerves, or a little off color. We know what that means, don't we? And I'm thinking, you know, bad with their nerves goes more towards the depression conversation, and being a little bit off color is what melancholy possibly, isn't it? And again, you have to. This is all about the conversation, isn't it? And understanding what we mean. As much as, you know, if we leap to, I mean, the worst outcomes, it seems to me, that social media specializes in is the semantic and judgmental combo. So people know what they mean, they don't bother to find out what the other person means, yet they still come to a judgment based on all of those dynamics, and the next thing you know, it's just horrible, basically. And
the written word is usually the poorest vehicle for sophisticated conversation.
Yes, yeah, and I guess it's the university or the classical education. One might take the written word and then discuss it to understand, but yeah, just taking the written word alone, it just for some reason it reminds me of the greatest. It's not really a semantic. I think it's a syntactical rather than semantic error I ever made in text communication. And I was trying to make the acquaintance of a young lady and progress our relationship in a dating era of my life. And I wrote a message because I wanted clarity about where this might be going. And I sent a message saying, please say hi. And in my mind, I was saying, you know, please say hello or piss off. Like, I'm happy with either outcome.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it was that, please say hi or piss off. And how it was read, I discovered, thankfully, because we did have further conversations and how we laughed, was please say hi or piss off. I think it needed a well-placed comma or some further explanation. Yeah. This is how wars begin, isn't it? Sarah Taylor,
leaves. Yeah.
Yes. See, Sarah Taylor taught me that phrase. Incredibly grateful for. That's interesting. And oh, he's gone into Portuguese here. I was hoping for some clarity, Mr. S, but that's not really helping me. I was teaching the Raven. Quoth the Raven. And it came up using the Simpsons, so terribly popular culture. Well done, Pete. Didn't know your.
I love that. And anything that is contrasting two cultures, two histories.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we were going to briefly chat about the benches.
Well, let's do that I mean, maybe, you know, we may have programs, podcasts with more examples, but I think it would always be great to end on an uplifting little idea that's come to either of our
something
attention.
Everyone can do.
Absolutely. So what was it about this then that appealed to you?
Well, this is known as the Happy to Chat bench. And this lady, it's on the BBC website. I think she was the first one to come up with the idea, and it's to overcome loneliness. And she had this idea, and I can't remember whether she had a little sign or whatever, but she sat on a park bench and engaged whoever sat next to her. Would you like to chat?
Yeah.
And this has become a national thing. There are benches now with a sign that says Happy to Chat bench. So you go and sit there with intent to talk to someone.
The opposite of please say hi or piss off, I suppose. Yeah.
And there's a sign, right. And local authorities are putting them up. I think it's one of the nicest things, and I use that word very carefully. And new relationships develop. It might only last for the 15 minutes of the chat, but some people now meet up every week for a conversation. I don't know whether any relationships deeper than that have happened, but just the idea that your echo for that 10 or 15 minutes is important, and one of your echoes is to sit and listen and shut up. Intent listening rather than waiting for the gap. If you just wait for the gap, that's level one listening. You've got to, and then you start to look at people's body language.
Yeah.
And then you really connect with someone. And if that's crystallized out across your nation, suddenly from the bottom upwards, people are talking to each other. So I think it's one of the best things I've seen recently.
It is a great idea. Actually, it goes back. The original article on the BBC is 2019 for that one, Gary. Mel, Simply Live loves this idea. I love this idea. I'm going to emphasize the capital. So I was actually just talking to a friend today about doing this here, as in Portugal. I wonder how the local communities would accept it, but I love the idea. My sense of Portuguese culture is that people would. I'm not sure you need signs. You know, it's fine to just reach out. It's a culture in which the sort of extroverted leaning into other people and saying hello and bon dia, boa tarde, boa noite is actually very acceptable. So I'm not sure you'd be up against you'd be leaning against an open door possibly.
Yeah, and some people carry a little card now.
All right. Well, happy to chat.
And they go, you may not want to, but if you're interested, let's have a chat. I like this.
Yeah.
So you're giving people permission to join in or not.
Very good.
And the other thing is just run the experiment.
Yes, give it a go.
You'll get convenient or inconvenient results, and move on from either.
You can simply say, that's interesting, can't you? Depending on what happens, and please don't judge yourself too harshly should that happen. It's all about observation and consciousness, is it not? Right, brilliant. That brings us up to the hour. Would you like to do this again in 2 weeks, Gary?
I would love to. Yes.
And I will see you. I'll see you in real life. We'll have to do a selfie, won't we, that we can share when we are next on screen, because I'll see you here in Portugal. And if people want to meet you whilst you're here, I believe it's possible to do that. Come over and chat with you about your book, From Demons to Champions, over in San Martino de Porto on the 5th of April. They can come and see you here. And there's mention of cocktails, walking on the beach. What's not to like about that whole scenario there? So there you go. Gary,
it's all going to be hard work.
It's going to be grueling. I don't know how. I mean, you must be in some serious sort of practice and girding your loins for such an arduous task, I suspect.
I have been to Portugal before, and I've had a fabulous time. So I am really looking forward to meeting more Portuguese.
Fantastic. Okay, we've got outro music, everybody. So we'll do that, and we'll wish you a very good evening. Thanks, Gary. Always great fun talking to you. Thank you for two helpings and seconds today of you. So thanks very much, and all the best to you. And yeah, I know you got a tail end of a little bit of a viral thing there. So maybe a lie down's in order, or a whiskey, or however you do that. And I'll see you again soon.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye.